Welcome back to the final war room of the 2025 draft season. Save the best for last. Don't tell Todd McShay I said that. Don't tell Field Yates. Don't tell Dane Brugler, because it's the busiest man in America right now. I don't know if that's true. Daniel Jeremiah, thanks for doing this.
I appreciate it. That's good company. I'll take that company.
It's a pretty good lineup there. Real murderers row. But you know the concept. If you're listening to this, you probably know we're doing an entire first round mock. It's called War Room because we're sort of pretending like we're on the same team together. I'm the assistant GM. You're the GM. If you want to view it that way, I'm going to give DJ 2 picks. As a reminder, this is him choosing what he would do, not what he thinks is going to happen. I'm going to throw a few trades into here. Not that many, because I don't actually think there'll be that many in the draft, but I will give you a couple of trade options near the top. Starting with the first overall pick. You ready to do this?
Geez, yeah. We're jumping into trades right off the jump.
Well, I have to, because I could be like Cam Ward or Travis Hunter, Cam Ward or Abdul.
Yeah.
Okay, so
right,
I have offered this trade now. I'm going to write it down. It's been turned down twice in a row. Okay. So you're the Tennessee Titans with pick 1-1.
Yep.
I'm beefing it up. Here's what you're getting. Okay, this is it's a haul. It's a haul. You either take Cam Ward or you get the 3rd overall pick, so the Giants pick, and then a 2nd this year and a 1st and 2nd next year. The New York Giants are going big. Joe Shane is desperate. And obviously, if you go to pick 3, you're still going to get one of Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, which makes this significantly more enticing than if any other team was offering the trade. Daniel Jeremiah, if you're the Tennessee Titans, do you take this trade?
Oh, man. I'll tell you what. I'm going to divorce myself from stadium logic, okay? Because we've heard new stadium, quarterbacks bring hope. I'm divorcing myself from that, and I'm making just a purely football decision. Mina, I'll take your deal.
Yes, I got to take her.
I'll take your trade. Part of it is that it's too good. I'm getting. I know that a quarterback's going 1, so I know I'm most likely getting Abdul Carter. Travis Hunter goes 2. I'm going to get a premier position, premier player in Abdul Carter. I'm going to get another starter here in the 2nd round. I'm going to build the foundation for next year having a chance to bring in my quarterback and have him enter into an opportunity where he's got a great chance to be successful. And the New York Giants, in the division in which they play, that could be a lottery ticket, and we could have a very nice couple picks next year because of that one. So I don't know what you offer everybody else, but personally, I would take that one.
I threw in one more pick because I hadn't. Yeah,
was it the 2 next year?
Trying to remember. I think it was the 2 next year.
It was the sweetener. The 2nd next year that was just nudge it right over the edge.
Because I was trying to find precedent for like a comparable trade. I was looking at every first round, and 3-1 is what makes it a little tricky too, because it's not that far to fall.
Yeah.
And I think especially in this draft, it's tricky, right? Because you probably wouldn't take that trade if you were falling out of Carter Hunter range.
Yeah. No, I'm getting one of my top 2 guys in this draft. So that's what I'm taking that. I'll take that deal.
We'll talk about it really briefly from the Giants standpoint, but well, I guess if you're a Giants fan, you're happy. You're excited.
Yeah, you got the quarterback. So yeah, there's incentive for them to be aggressive. But usually when teams get up there, once they make eyes with the quarterback, then it's over. They're not trading, even no matter what they get. But why not? With Mina, I'm gonna go ahead and make that move.
Okay, so the Cleveland Browns are not going to take a quarterback. I'm letting you choose between Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter here.
Yeah, I'm going to take Hunter. I've changed a little bit on this. I don't know if we have talked about this before with Greg, but I've had Carter as my top guy all throughout the process, and then I gave him the same grade as Hunter. They're literally right there, and I've just kind of leaned towards pass rusher over someone who plays out in the perimeter. But the more I've got to know Travis Hunter as the person as well as the player, the more I'm in on him, and I just think the guy's kind of a cyborg. And I think if you're Cleveland, I think he helps us win more ball games right now.
If you're Cleveland, how do you play him?
I'm playing him. I'm majoring on offense and minoring on defense. I'm doing the exact opposite of what's been what's been done. So I'm going to make him a full-time offensive player. We're going to let him do that exclusively for a while, and then we're going to start sprinkling in some sub stuff. We're going to start giving him some dime and some nickel packages and just kind of ease him into the defensive side of the ball.
Okay, so the Tennessee Titans are at pick 3 now. I'm struggling to actually come up with another option than Abdul Carter.
Just put Abdul Carter.
I don't know. Yeah. We'll throw up. I don't know. I'll put Tennessee Titans. You don't need Graham. I guess I'll just put Mcmillan here. Whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm gonna take Carter. I'm not gonna be able to fill up your full minute. Some of these picks you get turned in early, so I'm just gonna turn that one in early.
Okay, I'm gonna make this one. So I've done some trades for the Pats. I think they're in a tricky position though, because I think they would love to trade down, and I don't think there's many partners here. So I'm gonna give you what I think is an interesting choice. Will Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Or Ashton Jeanty.
I knew you were going to do that to me.
Haven't done it once.
I know, but I knew you were going to do that to me because that has not been presented to me. And it puts me at odds with best available need in a big way because Jeanty's my 3rd overall player. Campbell's going to be at or around 10, maybe a little bit beyond 10. So if I'm just going to take pure value, it would be Jeanty. But you also play the game of, well, what tackle are you going to get in the next round? I can find another running back. I would not love this because I would buck my own rankings, but I think I have so much pressure to fix the offensive line. I'm going to take Will Campbell.
Is there any world in which Jeanty is more helpful of a player to have next to Drake May than a competent tackle? Assuming that you think.
I mean, yes, he's going to be able to, touch the ball and take some of those carries off, but you're going to have to eventually have to drop back. So I love Jeanty. I don't like that you made me do that, but I have to take an offensive lineman.
Okay, I'm going to put up a decision that I think is closer than people think personally. Jags.
Yeah.
Pretty much actually McShay departed from this, but it's been chalk on Mason Graham.
Mm-hmm.
What about Tedero Mcmillan with Brian Thomas Jr.? Because wide receiver, sneaky need for these Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I think they like to find a running mate, but I just think they can find a running mate later on. I would, of those two choices, I would take Graham. And when I listened to their press conference the other day, it hit me when they were talking about statement player, all the intangibles and all that stuff. The two names that they sounded like they were describing to me were Jalen Carter and Ashton Jeanty. Like those are the two Jag names that I kind of just jotted down after seeing that press conference. And what I've learned over the years, I don't know if we talked about this, but like we give some of these head coaches and general managers too much credit for their poker playing skills. Some of them are not. Like some of them leave breadcrumbs, and those are the two players that led me to.
Okay, the Las Vegas Raiders, pick 6. We've done the McMillan-Jeanty debate here a few times, so I'm going to go in a different direction for you. I'm going to go Jeanty versus Armand Membou. Now, I just want context here. The Raiders' offensive line, tackle positions, still a little up in the air. Actually, I think Colton Miller maybe today said he wanted a new contract.
He wants money,
that's out there. This was one of the worst run-blocking offensive lines in football last year.
I feel like you're leading the witness, but
no, I'm not. I'm just trying to make it more interesting.
No, yeah, you are. But look, I hear what you're saying on that. Glaze, I know that there's some
DJ Glaze is their existing right tackle. One of the best names in football, to be fair.
He's a great name, but he's functional. I think he can at least be functional. I like the Oregon kid. So, I think they have some pieces in place. I'm going to fill in around the offensive line later in this one, and I'm going to say at this point in time, I just can't pass on Ashton Jeanty. I'm taking him.
Fair enough. All right. We are down to functional, by the way, is like I feel like the word that I use
backhanded compliment.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's like
that should be like that should be a dating term. Like how it was a functional.
Okay. So we're down to the Jets. I keep trying to come up with ways to not make people pick the same players over and over because some of them are so obvious. And the Jets are one. I'm going to do this discussion because I want to hear your thoughts on this. I'm going to put Membou back on.
Yep.
He is the chalk pick. I'm going to go back to a player that I originally liked for the Jets, and I haven't heard linked with him as much lately. Tyler Warren.
I do love Tyler Warren. So I thought about this exercise today, and this is what I came up with. I have Warren over Membou. But if you don't look at it in a vacuum and you look at trying to solve two issues, right? If you're going to say tight end and tackle, I like the combination of Membou and then maybe that's that's one of two guys for me. It would be what's his name now? I'm going to blank on his name. My guy from LSU, obviously, Mason Taylor, or I'm going to get Arroyo, like Mason Taylor, Arroyo. I like that combination with Membou versus the tackles I would be looking at in the second round if I went Warren. So long story longer, Warren is my higher rated player in this scenario, but I think I would take Membou, solve my offensive line, and I would turn around and hopefully get Mason Taylor in the second round.
This is why you're the best in the biz, because you're thinking about these things holistically and not just focusing on this one pick.
Or overthinking it. There's two ways of saying that.
It's a great tight end class. It really is. Okay, wait. That actually just gave me an idea.
Okay.
Carolina Panthers. Everybody is, I think the most common position is edge. We're seeing going to them. No, I'm not going to put Warren here. I'm going to do a different player. No, you know what? I am going to do Warren. Screw it.
Okay.
Carolina Panthers. Jalen Walker is my edge two.
Yeah.
He's the one who is constantly linked to the Carolina Panthers. Seems like a perfect fit for a Giro Everos 3-4 defense. Kind of reminds you of Frankie Luvu, so you can kind of envision it in some ways. Tyler Warren, though. Bryce Young needs help. Arguably the best pass catcher available. Mcmillan was the player I was considering as well.
Yeah, I don't like you doing this to me.
Decision, right?
Yeah, because I think they're literally might be touching each other on my sequence list, like in terms of how I have them graded. I'm going to end up sticking with chalk here. I'm going to go Walker. Just defensively, they were so bad last year. I mean, not that they were great in offense, but when you're 32nd in points, yards, rushing yards per game, 29th in sacks, 32nd in pressure rate, like it's just, they have to address that. And I think it would be fun to kind of watch how they would play him off of the existing talent that you already have in there. Can you imagine like just all the attention that you're going to be able to take from a defensive tackle standpoint, and then the creases and gaps you're going to have to blitz and to get him inside? Like I would be pretty excited about that if I were the Panthers.
And he's your number two?
He's my number two edge rusher, yes.
Yes, that's right. I'm behind Abdul. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
That's divisive right now, I've realized. Maybe
Is
not.
It really?
Divisive. I don't know.
Well, just because it was a tweener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I like him a lot.
I was trying to find this for you, Mina, because the Jack, our researcher, who's awesome, had I was talking to him. I had talked to some teams and said Carolina would love to get out of there, and they'd love to use the potential quarterback landing spot at 9 to get out of there. And I was trying to find that, and I know Pittsburgh does not have a 2, which complicates this. But I believe
so. I was trying to do a Pittsburgh. Yeah, so I was trying to do this as well, and I couldn't get there with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's going to be expensive because you're going to be using next year's picks. But that they have done a couple trades together over the last few years, so that's an interesting one.
All right, part of me wants to make you, for the Saints, go quarterback versus a non-quarterback just to hear you think about whether they should take a quarterback. But I also want to force this discussion because it is kind of the discussion of the week, and that's Shedeur Sanders versus Jaxson Dart at quarterback. Yeah, I thought this was a no-brainer forever, and then apparently, as we get closer to the draft, this is a debate. A lot of smoke around the Saints and this position. So forget the smoke. You're the GM. Which of these two quarterbacks would you take if you were the New Orleans Saints?
I have Sanders over Dart, so I would take Sanders. And I think he actually fits there, like style-wise, play-wise. I think Kellen Moore knows exactly how to use a quarterback like this because he was a lesser version of that type of quarterback in terms of the, playing the game shoulders up more so than just raw tools. So no, I think that makes sense. I like him in a dome. I like him playing in that division. I don't love Shedeur as much in New York. Just the wind, the weather, all those games you're going to play inside that division. I don't think he's a physical quarterback that matches that. I do think he matches the environment in New Orleans really well. And I have him over Dart on my list as well. So that's where I would go.
If I had given you a non-quarterback, would you have taken the non-quarterback? Like, what if I had done a Tet McMillan or something? Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm Tet McMillan. I'm not quite as high as you are on him, so that one would be a little muddier. But there's other ones. There's other names that would be like if Warren was still there, my love affair with him, I would go in that direction.
That's actually the battle I'm having right now with Chicago, because I'm trying to give you a player who could rival Warren for them, because it is just such a hand. And
Yeah.
I did a video today on YouTube where I said that would be one of my favorite fits in the entire draft if he landed with Chicago. Okay, I'll throw in. I mean, I think I know what you're gonna do here, but I'll throw in Mike Green. He's my next edge.
Yeah.
So you're choosing between Tyler Warren. So the choice, I think, the Bears are more likely, or the more divisive choice would be Jeanty, but he's gone for us, or one of the tackles, but both 2 tackles are gone. So I feel like
for me, I would take Warren quickly in this one. I would say the one that maybe would be interesting if it was Hampton and Warren would probably be a little bit more of a discussion.
10. At 10, you'd take Hampton?
A little strong, but I think he would. I just think with Ben Johnson that he would have a lot of fun with him. But I would go Warren here. He's just too high on my list to bypass. And some of the knocks on Warren are all the different ways they utilize him in college. You won't utilize him those ways in the NFL. And I would counter and say, Ben Johnson's your head coach and calling plays. They probably will let him play some wildcat quarterback and do some different creative things. So I think all the advantages Penn State enjoyed, I would think that in Chicago with Ben Johnson, you'd be able to enjoy those same advantages.
Tedder McMillan right now is the faller, in part because I didn't make him available to a couple of these teams to you, but he is the faller right now. All right. So the San Francisco 49ers are at pick 11. They've gone cornerback a lot in this exercise for me. But I'm going to give you one of the cornerbacks. It's not your favorite guy, Jahdae Barron. It's the other one.
Oh, I thought you said it's. Oh, I thought it was going to be that. I was getting excited.
No, you know what? Okay, fine. We'll get you.
Go ahead.
Because I want to make this tough.
Yeah.
I think this is tough because between Jahdae Barron and Mike Green, I think the Niners need Mike Green more, perhaps, personally. Who of these 2 players would you take, though?
That's tough. I would stay true. In this situation, I just have a higher grade on Barron. So I would take Barron, knowing that I need both, and they need a lot in this draft. And I do feel like there are some other edge rushers that will fit Chris Kosturek, guys with just big time takeoff and juice that he can find. So I think there's opportunities to find guys there, and he's. I'm gonna apologize to Chris by praising him and saying you're such a good coach. You'll figure it out with the next guy that I'm going to give you.
So you think Jahdae Barron plays outside for them?
No, I think you can play him I would play him at nickel. I would play him at safety.
Lenoir, because you just paid Lenoir.
I know, but I can play him if I had to. I'll just play him back at safety. I mean, I can move him all around on that defense. Yeah, I can move Barron anywhere.
Brian Branch is kind of the comp.
But to me, do I want him down in, down out, outside? No, but I can find home for him. I can make that work.
Okay, so Mcmillan fell, but I actually love that because it gives you the great wide receiver choice for the Dallas Cowboys, who are the most likely team to take a wide receiver in this entire draft. Your choice is between Mcmillan and Matthew Golden out of Texas. Both, I believe, would be excellent fits for the Dallas Cowboys. Who would you take?
Yeah, I would be. They're very close together on my list, so it's literally a flavor thing. And who do you think gives you? And which of these players maximizes CeeDee Lamb to me is the direction that I would go. And to me, I think Golden creates more space. I think he helps the run game with that by getting vertical, and I think he frees up CeeDee a little bit. So I don't think there's a wrong answer there. When you get in the red zone, obviously Mcmillan gets the edge there and gives you a target and a weapon down there. I do, and I don't crush Mcmillan, for this, but I do think like play temperament and aggressiveness and stuff, I lean a little bit more towards Golden style, even though he doesn't have the body.
Okay. Do you think that there's any chance it shakes out this way? I know we're talking about what you would do.
I know teams that have Golden as the top wide receiver. So, I mean, Travis Hunter's, we've discussed this before. Everybody gets all mad at that. What about Travis Hunter's his own thing? Like, he's his own thing.
Yeah, McMillan is an interesting one because I've done this now a few times, and sometimes he goes really, really high, and sometimes he is the guy I'm watching as a potential dropper just because of
Did you
fit.
give me his option? I don't think we did him. No, because we did the quarterbacks with New Orleans. Like
Yeah,
New Orleans is a landing spot for him.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of quarterbacks, okay, so Jackson Dart is still on the board. The Miami Dolphins are not going to take a quarterback. They're picking at 13. And I'm going to give you a guy who, his name has not come up because I swapped him out with Jahdae Barron. And then we're going to go with, I want to hear your thoughts on this player. Maybe a bit of a reach here. Pick 13. Will Johnson. Not a reach. Pretty common player for them. Corners in need. That's the corner out of Michigan. I'm going to throw up Josh Simmons out of Ohio State as the tackle.
Yep. Both guys did not have a healthy process. Both guys missed games this year. Will Johnson is an obvious, easy answer for me in terms of Jalen Ramsey's on the way out. Will Johnson's on the way in. So, to me, that would be the direction that I would lean there. They are very confident in Patrick Paul. They took him in the second round. They like him enough that when Armstead's done, they said we're good. So I don't think they're going to feel the pressure there with, I think they got Austin Jackson, I believe, is on the right side. So I think they would go with the corner. I would go with the corner in that situation. That's who I would take.
I think because they like Patrick Paul, that's part of the reason I like taking like a little bit of a higher upside offensive tackle, but that might be a little bit early to take one.
Yeah.
Okay. Fun choice for you for the Indianapolis Colts. Tyler Warren's gone. They're devastated. But another tight end appears for the first time.
I knew you were going to go Loveland. Yeah, poor Mike. Poor Mike Green. Mike Green is losing a lot of battles on this list, and I like Mike Green as a player, but we've got to get better play out of the quarterback. That's first and foremost on our list here in Indianapolis, and Loveland to me is a top 7 player in this draft. So I'm gonna aid my quarterback, whoever that might be, between your favorite quarterback and Anthony Richardson. We'll see who's going to be throwing the ball, but I think Loveland makes us a better team next year, and we need to kind of win some games. So I'm going to go that way.
All right. Well, the Atlanta Falcons are obviously thrilled because everybody knows
they got pass rushers that they can pass again for the 9th year in a row.
I'm going to throw in a little bit of a curveball here. I'm going to leave Mike Green on the board. I'm going to throw up, this, my favorite player, maybe in the whole draft, Jihaad Campbell.
Oh, I do love Jihaad Campbell.
Alabama. And wouldn't he be a nice fit? They need cornerstone, off-ball linebacker. Obviously, they desperately need pass rush. But he's the best player at his position. Mike Green is not.
I'm just looking at my list, and I got to update my final list this week. So there'll be some tweaks here, but as we're recording this, I have Campbell at 9 and Mike Green at 21. I think both guys help right away, and I also think I can let Campbell rush a little bit to help us a little bit in that department. So I'll take Campbell.
All right. That would be a surprising pick, I think. I would think that would qualify.
I would say that the more traditional pick would be to take just a pure edge rusher there. I wouldn't fault it. I like him. I think Jihaad Campbell's a better football player.
Final pick of the first half of the first round. I'm going to go with 2 players we have not talked about because I want to hear your take on both.
I thought you were going to go Mike Green versus Mcmillan.
I know. I've done enough. We've done enough. All right. The Arizona Cardinals taking Tedder Mcmillan would be pretty crazy. This is, I think, a fun choice. We're going to go defensive tackle. I don't know if you know. I was going there. Walter Nolen. I spelled his name wrong. It has an E. And Derrick Harmon. I know who I like better.
Walter Nolen and Derrick Harmon. I'm gonna chase the explosive upside of Walter Nolen. So I'm gonna take somebody who can get up the field. I love Derrick Harmon's instincts. I love he gets on the other side of the line of scrimmage as well. To me, if I've got to beat Matthew Stafford to win a game, I think Walter Nolen affects Matthew Stafford more than Harmon does. So I will lean towards Nolen on that one.
All right, there you go. We're going to take a quick break, come back with the Cincinnati Bengals pick at 17. All right, I got a good choice for you. This is never happened. But you're the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
You're picking at 18. Mike Green is there. I think that'd be amazing for them.
Yeah, yeah.
This actually is like, damn, okay, Mike Green, we need that. However, you have a trade. Somebody on the phone.
Okay.
This is the one thing that would never happen. It's Brian Gutekunst again.
Oh.
Very unlikely. I don't care. He is offering you the 23rd pick and a third rounder. So you're only dropping from 17 to 23.
Yeah.
Maybe Mike Green's still there. I don't know. You're looking at your board. You're thinking about it. I kind of doubt it, though, because of one team that's picking in between them. He wants to jump the Seattle Seahawks for Tedor Mcmillan. The Packers would never do this, but we're living in Mina and DJ's world.
Okay.
Do you take the trade or do you stick and take the pass rusher?
So the Bengals, this is the best part about this, is the Bengals traditionally like to just pick where they're picking. They don't like to complicate things. Yeah. And the Packers have just notoriously never taken a receiver in the first round. Yeah. So this is like a movable object, irresistible force here. Like this is a lot to take in and a lot to think about here. If I'm sitting there and
look at who's picking.
You're Cincinnati, right? 17, and our defense with where it is right now. Gosh, Mike Green would be hard for me to trade off of at that point in time.
That's why I'm trying to make it hard for you.
I'm gonna take Mike Green.
Oh boy, you worried about the Bucs, right?
Yeah, the Bucs are a pass rusher team right behind you, and then I start getting nervous about the teams at the bottom of the round once he starts drifting, that they can start moving up.
Well, I'm thrilled. I'm the Seattle Seahawks. Tedor Mcmillan against all odds. It's still there for me. What do you think the chances are that Mcmillan will be there?
Oh, I think there's a legit possibility he's there. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you are going to choose for the Seahawks. So both tight ends are gone, who are players that I would have, both the top two tight ends.
Yeah.
We'll go interior offensive line and go Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. Popular pick for the Seattle Seahawks, obviously an area of need for them, interior offensive line.
Yeah, this is a classic case of need versus how I stack the players. So I have Mcmillan as a higher rated player. I think your fan base is split. I think there's a portion that would love to have that exciting receiver to come in and replace what you lost in DK Metcalf. And there's the other side that's like, this interior offensive line has got to be resolved. And so I don't know this would get universal praise. I think it might get universal praise. I don't think it would get universal praise, but I'm going to take Mcmillan at this point.
It should. They should if he's there.
My buddies Brock and Sock would faint, I think, if they don't come away with an interior offensive lineman. But I'm going to make them mad, and I'll take the receiver.
If it's anyone other than Golden or Mcmillan, I would be mad. But if either of those two players are there, receiver is also a really big need for the Seattle Seahawks. Okay. Tampa Bay, devastated. They wanted Jihaad Campbell, or Mike Green, and they're both gone. They're looking at their board. They're thinking about it. This has not played out the way we had hoped in Tampa. I'm gonna go ahead because right now I think that like we've hit kind of like a little tier, at least my tier, and then suddenly we're like linebacker,
question marks.
Some question marks. I'm going to give you a choice between a couple of edges. This is kind of an interesting one.
I'm already guessing who these are going to be, but
the two edges are actually, I think, similarities between both of these two players. Michael Williams out of Georgia and Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Some similarities, right? Both big athletic freaks.
You just put on your board a conversation I've had with probably 10 teams. Is how do you separate these two guys? Like, what's the difference? Michael Williams did not test as well as everyone thought he was going to test. That wasn't healthy throughout the year, but he's a more instinctive football player than Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart tested like a freak, has all those traits. They're very similar in that you're doing more traits than production. I think Michael Williams' production, the lack thereof, can be explained a little bit more by how he was used, in my opinion, as well as how much healthy tape he got to put out there. So I'm going to go Michael Williams over Shamar Stewart. But trust me, there are plenty of teams that see that the opposite way. So, but for me, I'm making the pick. I'm going to take Michael Williams.
I ended up putting Michael over him in my final tiers.
Michael can rush inside too. Like absolute worst case scenario, he's just going to be my interior in sub. That's how he's going to pressure the quarterback. I don't need him to do it on the outside.
Also, you get a floor with the run defense that
just the funny thing is, like, I think Shamar might have measured as long as him or close to us because he just looks in a uniform. It's probably because he's high cut. Michael looks like he's so much longer, but they're both really kind of freaks.
Okay. Denver Broncos. I'm going to give you the choice that I think is legitimately the choice they are making.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. Marion Hampton, UNC running back, or Emeka Egbuka, the Ohio State wide receiver.
Yeah, I would take Hampton here. And I just love how, to me, Sean runs that offense inside out, and it's backs and tight ends, and then expand from there. I love Egbuka. They're like the character, all that stuff's elite, like off the charts. He's smart. He's instinctive. I think you can find a maybe a little lesser version of that. And Sean has had success of finding receivers outside of the first round. I think they can find somebody else there. I just think Omarion Hampton becomes their guy, like a big time guy who can also be a mismatch player in the pass game. To me, I'm my biggest thing with them. I'm fascinated to see what happens. I don't think he gets there. But Colston, Loveland, the Broncos have long been connected to having a, no pun intended, love affair with Loveland. But they went out and signed Evan Ingram and gave him decent money. So is that enough to take them off of Loveland if he somehow got to them? That's one of the little sidebars I'm looking forward to.
Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock. 21.
Okay.
You took Shedeur Sanders over Jaxson Dart.
He's
Take
gone.
9.
Yep.
So I'm going to throw Dart back up. A few directions they could go in here. They liked Hampton, but he's gone. Tackle.
I don't think they need a tackle. I think they like their young tackles.
Broderick Jones, really? Anyways, all right.
They're at least going to give him some more. All
right, I'm putting Derrick Harmon back up.
Okay.
This is maybe just me being. I know like Starks is a guy you're looking at here, maybe, but Nolan's gone. I probably would have gone to. This is maybe me being too high on Derrick Harmon, but I'm just really high on him. But this is going to be just your way of telling me what you think about Jaxson Dart.
I like Jaxson Dart. To me, that's a creative move for Pittsburgh. Like, I think you try and move back and move around a little bit and see if you can pull that off. I wouldn't, like, if I'm on the desk and they take Jaxson Dart, I will totally get it. Jaxson Dart to me is an upgrade over Mason Rudolph, which is what you have right now. And I think you just got to be a little bit patient there. But I just wonder if they have, picking a quarterback PTSD in this area of the draft, if that's somewhere in the back of your head saying, wow, we tried this before. I would go Harmon. I would take Harmon. I just have a higher grade there, so I would lean in that direction. But I wouldn't close the door on Dart if I were the Steelers. I know they don't have a second-round pick, but I would still be trying to be creative. That's why I try to move around a little bit, see if you can have your cake and eat it too.
Are there any other players you would have liked for them there?
So I think there's a couple other guys that are interesting there. To me, Kenneth Grant. Yeah. That's a Steeler type player. That's a player for that division. Makes a lot of sense for them. And the other one that's kind of sneaky that people don't think about with the running back position, Travion Henderson. What do they always say when you get rid of a coach, Mina? You always hire the opposite of what you just had. So if Najee Harris is a physical, somewhat plodding runner, you want the exact opposite of that. And they have Jalen Warren, who was kind of they always their little pairing there, but they can get it all in one body with Travion Henderson. So I think that would be someone I wouldn't sleep on.
All right. So
there's some internal dialogue going on here that I'm unaware.
Well, I'm at the LA Chargers. This happens to me every time where the receivers just don't match the type of receiver that the Chargers need at all. And I don't think it's not, but I don't think they're going to. I also just wouldn't take these receivers for them. It just doesn't make sense.
Egbuka's too much of a duplicate of what you have. Yeah.
Burden doesn't make sense for me. I think you're wanting to go down in the next round and take a receiver there. I am gonna. You know what? I want to mix it up a little bit because I'm also trying to like not have people get the same players over and over.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna do something a little crazy here. Okay. Put defensive linemen up.
Grant and Stewart.
So my thinking, Grant is easier to explain, right?
Yeah.
But they need a run stopper. Poona Ford's gone. Obviously, there's the Michigan connection. I think he fits that off defense in my mind pretty well. The Jesse Minter defense. I put up Shemar Stewart because I don't think they would do it, but they're going to need edge soon.
Mm-hmm.
Khalil Mack comes back on a 1-year deal. Stewart is kind of a little bit of a lottery pick, right? Like if it hits, it hits.
Yeah, I don't think this is like an easy decision here. I think it's pretty close. I would take Grant just because of the reasons you mentioned. We want to play with light boxes. He allows us to do that. It's just such a perfect fit, and everybody in the building knows him, and you're aware of exactly how to properly use him. So, and I think there's more meat there. I think there's development. Both these guys are going to continue to develop. They're not finished products. But I think I would be more excited about Grant to plug him in there. And also, like, you've got Thule, you've got Mac for this next year, you've got Bud Dupree, I believe, is still under contract. So, like, they're okay out there right now. They can get an edge as they go along.
All right, the Green Bay Packers. We're going to take Shemar Stewart off the board for them, and we're going to put up 2 wildly different edges. Just want to hear your thoughts on these players. Really, and you probably know who I'm going to go here. Going to put up Ezeraku and James Pierce Jr.
Yeah. They are very opposites when you look at them. Pierce is, a fastball off the edge, big time speed. He's like a Leonard Floyd, body double with what he looks like coming off of the edge. A little bit tight. Ezeraku has a lot more ways to get home. Just a technician, a polished pass rusher. He's long. Again, they're such different players. I think I trust Ezeraku more. I'm gonna do something I don't normally do. Normally I'm a ceiling chaser versus a floor guy, but I'm gonna go floor there. I'm gonna take Ezeraku.
Probably doesn't fit the Packers size parameters, I'm guessing.
I know.
But it doesn't matter. We're not doing what they would do.
I get to tell Gutekunst that we're doing what we're doing here.
If Stewart was on the board, do you think you would take him over Ezeraku? Or I took him off for a reason. I just wanted to
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I've had like a 45-minute conversation about Ezeraku versus Stewart with somebody in the league, and by the end of the conversation, I think I switched from one side to the other, and the guy on the other line switched from his side to the other, and we still never found common ground. Okay,
the Minnesota Vikings at 24. I'm gonna throw in a player who I have not mentioned at all. I'm going to do 2 players I haven't mentioned at all, both in the secondary. Malachi Starks and Trey Amos. First time. Starks, safety, Trey Amos, corner, both needs, I would argue, for the Minnesota Vikings. I think we've done the Starks, and Worry debate here before.
Yeah. I like him and Worry, like, off subject because of Brian Flores, just to see how he would use him. I think we've talked about that in the past. But I would go Starks here, and I'm an Amos guy as well. I think they're both really, really good players. Starks could, and he could get you reps in the nickel if you want. He can play as a high safety. I think I think getting a chance for him to learn under Harrison for a year would be awesome too. I like that move.
Oh. Just thought of a player who I haven't mentioned that I'd like to bring up for the Houston Texans. Okay. That player is Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive lineman. So the Texans have gone offensive line in every single one of these. But what if they added Emeka Egbuka?
CJ Stroud might have something to say about that. I don't know. CJ I would like to be a little better protected than I was last year, but I wouldn't mind throwing to my friend in Emeka Egbuka.
Sneaky need for them.
Yeah, I think I would have to take Banks. I have a little higher grade on Egbuka. It's close, but I don't see how they leave that round without an offensive lineman. So I'm going to go offensive lineman.
Okay.
Not to mention, I was told the Houston Texans will not pass on Banks if he was there. So that's what they would do. But I would agree with them on that one.
So far in this mock, by the way, just looking at the number of tackles, we've taken Will Campbell, Armand Membou, Scrolling. And I think that was the big break in tackles until we got to Kelvin Banks Jr. So only 3 tackles taken. I guess I've given them as options a few times. And I'm going to do one again. I'm going to put, for the Los Angeles Rams, 2 players on the board. I'm going to go Josh Connerly Jr., tackle out of Oregon, who's a guy I came to like a lot. I'm going to put Jackson Dart back on the board for the LA Rams. Getting ready for a post-Matthew Stafford world. If I'm Jackson Dart, I'm like, please. This is the dream landing spot. But if you're the Rams, would you do it?
I don't think they will. I think this is kind of the push. The Rams are the one thing that they're very smart about is understanding like windows and where they are. And this feels like it's time to push with Matthew here for the last year or two. So to me, Connerly would be the direction you go there, even though they bring back the left tackle. I think, you've got he's a stabilizing player for him there. So I would go Connerly.
Havenstein's also, we talk about Stafford near the end. Havenstein's also
near
the end, so they're going to need a tackle
pretty soon. Who, by the way, has been, for as many times as we talk about the like Julian Edelman to the white slot receiver comparison, Havenstein to the little bit stiff right tackle comparison, like I think I've used him as a comp in every single draft since he entered into the league. That's the North Star of like, he's a little stiff, but I think he can play. I think he'll be fine.
Okay. The Ravens, I believe in the last draft, we went Tyler Booker. I'm not going to give you, who has not come up yet. I'm not going to give you Tyler Booker as an option. This is actually a fun one. It's my dog, by the way, if you hear it pounding on the board. It's not Eric DaCosta. Okay. I'm going to throw up Zabel. Ray Zabel.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put Shamar Stewart, who has not been taken, back on the board.
I would take Stewart. Like he's as someone I used to work with in the draft room would say, he's been punished enough. At some point in time, it's just too much. There's too much in his body. There's too much ability there. Let's take our shot. We already have the proof of concept with Owe, who we saw develop, and the production eventually came following all the traits. So I would go in that direction.
I just, every time I've done this, I always kind of forget that starting with the Ravens, you have like a 3-team stretch of edges. I'm sure you've, like at this. So I love doing
little alleys.
Yeah, right. Like you got there's a run in the beginning with the Panthers, the Saints, of teams that might go edge. And then right here at the very end, the Ravens are very fortunate in some ways to be picking ahead of the Lions and the Commanders. The more I think about it, because those teams are devastated that they're. I mean, we've took Azaraku's gone. Stewart's gone. One player who is not gone is Pierce Jr. However, I'm also going to put Zabel back on the board.
Okay.
Would you be surprised if the Lions went interior offensive line?
No, not at all. And in this situation, I think I would go with Zabel. But I want to just go back to what you were just saying about this little alley, right? This little alley of pass rush teams. And you're just kind of looking at it. This is the first time this is why these are literally the exercises that are super helpful, selfishly for me. Minnesota at 24 doesn't have many picks, Mina. So if you're one of these pass rush teams and you want to get up in there and get ahead of this little run we're about to go on, Minnesota would seem like an ideal partner as a team that would want some picks. They don't have any. So that's just something to keep an eye on when we get to Thursday night. In this scenario, I'll take Zabel. I'll take Zabel, plug and play.
I could see the Rams also being a trade down team as we're kind of getting into the trade down. Or there might be one more trade down.
I hope we get trades, please. And like it's so bizarre to enter into the draft and everybody's just got their pick, and we need some excitement. We need some trades to take place.
Do you think that we're going to see more than 2 trades in the first round?
I think at the end of the day we will, but I think we have to wait. I think it's going to come down to this area. I think we could go a long time before we see a trade, is what I'm getting at.
Okay, the Washington Commanders, pick 29. All right. I'm trying to think if there's any other pass rushers I want to throw in here. They're really, kind of hit the end for me of guys who I think should be in the first round personally.
Yeah.
So
we're in the same boat, but there's Nick Scorton teams.
Are there?
Yeah. Coffee's a little rich for me, but that's a possibility here.
All right. I'm not going to go Scorton. I'm going to throw up. This might seem a little bit wacky. I'm going to put Igbokwe back on. I know that they added Debo, but I still feel like this is kind of a missing piece in their offense personally. And then I'm going to put up James Pierce Jr. or leave up James Pierce Jr., who is my last remaining like in this tier of edges.
Okay. I'm leaning towards Igbokwe, but I do want to. This is the first team where I really actually I'm pulling up their depth chart because I want to look at this real quick. Yeah, because like Debo's in there.
Yeah, but like
Terry,
how long is that realistic?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Got a rookie quarterback. It's an aging group.
Yeah, to me, when I looked at them and I was trying to like map this out the other day. So I'll answer your question first. I'll go Igbokwe. I'll take Igbokwe here. I'm going to give. It would be fun, but
he'd be such a good pairing with Jayden Daniels and his style of play. Ball comes out fast, receivers right where you need him to be, likes targeting the short and intermediate parts of the field. He gets you yards after the catch. Sorry.
No, I like that. And the other thing, with Terry there, obviously you've got the Ohio State thing, but there's a tight end in this draft who you would think would have a lot of familiarity with Jayden Daniels.
Oh, Taylor, right there.
My comp for Mason Taylor is Zach Ertz.
Feels rich, dude.
They don't care. Adam doesn't care. Adam's just about they are about finding fits and guys that work in what they do. Like he does not care whatever outside perception is for him. I think when I started mapping this out, I was on with well, I'll tell you afterwards, but with one of the better GMs in the league, and we were going through guys, and it was like you start getting to the end of the round, you start looking at names, and it's like I know exactly what I'm buying with Mason Taylor. Like the rest of these guys, it's some hit and miss, and he's like I know exactly who and what he is. So we'll see what happens. But I'm saying if he gets picked, we need to have that conversation after the fact about Zach Ertz 2.0.
All right, Buffalo Bills. I'm going to make you choose between two corners because I want to hear your thoughts on these. Maxwell Hairston, Kentucky, and then we've mentioned him already, Trey Amos at Ole Miss.
Yeah, and did they refresh my memory on this, when they took Kaiir Elam, McDuffie was on the board, right?
Oh, God, was he? McDuffie was picked 22, if I remember correctly. Was Elam before him?
I can't remember who was before who, but I just remember thinking those corners were talked about, and like we're doing here, the odds are one of these guys is probably going to be really good.
Such different corners, too.
The other one won't. So again, different skill sets, but they're kind of viewed in that range of the draft. So it's just it's an interesting comparison here. I would, because Amos, you think of like the size and the length kind of fits that environment and that division and that defense really, really well. Harrison's so twitchy and explosive. I think I'll go in this case with this team. I'll go Amos.
I think
now if it was a different team, I might go with Hairston. So that is 100% a fit pick for me.
Jack, let me know that McDuffie went 21 and Elam went 23. So they were very close to each other. Yeah, I think Hairston versus Amos, it's funny. In some ways, I think it's a little bit of it's a tricky choice because I actually think they're both corners who I would put in zone schemes. So in some ways, I could see Buffalo considering both, but I do think Amos is a better hand and glove fit for what they do on defense.
They're good players. They're both good players.
They are both good players. Okay, Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, I feel like this is something that's going to annoy a lot of people. Pierce Jr. is still there. So you're going to choose between him. These are both players that we've mentioned. And Josh Simmons.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the bat. I'm going bat approach for the Kansas City Chiefs in this draft and for every draft from here on out. Just best available tackle. Just take Josh Simmons. You think you might have some answers, but I don't know that you have answers at tackle. I think he's more talented than any tackle they have on their roster. So I would take Simmons.
All right. So we got to the final pick of the draft. We've talked through some potential trades, and none of them make sense. I guess I should have had the Browns maybe calling up to trade earlier. The Steelers have no ammunition. The Saints already took a quarterback. The Giants did too. The Titans, I guess the Titans could do it potentially, but so we're not going to do a trade. I'm just giving you a choice between two players for the Philadelphia Eagles. Those two players are James Pierce Jr. and Tyler Booker.
Okay. Pierce and Booker both fits. I'm gonna go make Stoutland happy. I'm gonna take Booker.
Could you see them going guard?
I could potentially. Becton's gone. It's plug and play. They love, and they have all the information out of Alabama. They know those kids really well. So he's firm. Yeah, I think that's. I think they've hit on pass rushers. I think Jalix Hunt being a great example of them finding guys. Yeah. I think they can find guys in this draft later. So I would take the lineman. I think the drop off there versus taking a lineman later, I think it falls off a cliff.
Yeah. I also considered bringing back Hairston as a possibility there, but
they solved that. They kind of solved their issues there. Yeah.
Brought in a guy. So I feel like this is going to be a trenches draft for the Eagles. Jackson Dart was not taken in the first round. I could have had a team maybe trading up somewhere near the end of the first round. But yeah, it's a weird one, right? Because it feels like between Sanders and Dart, whichever one of them goes.
It's not a lock that the other one does. And I say this fully aware that Jaxson could go ahead of Shedeur, and Shedeur could slide out. I think all bets are off here.
Well, that was by far the biggest, I guess, surprise. Burden also didn't get taken. I don't think I gave him as an option. Whoops. And then Pierce Jr. would be the other big slider. Is there any other player that you were surprised didn't go in our mock draft?
There's I think there's a very good chance that Travion Henderson goes in the first round.
You mentioned him. I could have done him for Washington.
Yeah, Washington needs a back. They need a back.
I like Dabuka though. I like that. I like that pick for them. That's not one that I've seen discussed a lot, but I do like it. I think that of looking back at all the picks you made, that was one of my kind of sneaky favorites. Outside of the like more chalky type picks we've seen. The Seahawks getting Mcmillan, obviously, I loved. Jihaad Campbell to the Falcons is one that I think might surprise people.
I haven't heard that one yet, so that was kind of fun.
You know how I feel about him. And then I think that the Texans would be thrilled if Kelvin Banks Jr. was there at 25.
Yeah, that one. They will not use 10 minutes? They will not use the full allotment of time.
All right. Well, we just used our full allotted time. So thank you so much. I will see you in Green Bay. In the meantime, I will be back in a couple of days with my final draft pod, not a war room, but Dominique's going to come on to talk about the biggest questions of the 2025 NFL draft. See you guys then.